Hi, today's podcast is with me, Julie Gelfand. I hope you enjoy hearing about my career path and that you learn something about a career in sustainability in the corporate sector, in the NGO sector, and in the government. Enjoy.
Hello, my name is Jonah Galley. Today I'll be interviewing Julie. I'm a third-year geography student out of Guelph University. Okay, Julie, so can you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school, and how you became a well-respected figure within environmental governance in Canada?
Wow. Yes, I can tell you. That's how I was born in Montreal. And when I was in grade 3, my parents put me into a French school. And then in our ninth year of school, my ninth year of schooling, we moved to Ottawa. And when we moved to Ottawa, they showed me the mathematics that I was, to try to figure out what grade I was, because I was in what's called secondaire 1 in Quebec. And when I got to Ottawa, they showed me this math, and I was like, well, I've seen that, and I've seen that. And all of a sudden, I went from being in grade 9, my ninth year of schooling in Quebec, to grade 11 in Ontario. So my biggest recollection was that in grade 9, the boys still talked with really high voices. And I went literally from that to the next day, the boys all had low voices. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here? All these people are older than me. And I was like 14. So I grew up in Ottawa. I did my I did my undergraduate at Carleton University in biology and integrated science studies. And from there, so that was an interdisciplinary, almost like what you guys are doing in geography, to be frank. I took the core biology courses that any biologist had to take. And then for my electives, I took soils, economics, political science, all these super cool social science classes. And when I graduated, I sort of wanted to be David Suzuki,
Mm.
like communicating science and conservation and environmental issues to the public. But I also knew that I really wanted to work at Parks Canada. And so I asked my professor, as I encourage all of you to do as well. I said to one of my professors, I really want to work at Parks Canada. Do you know anybody? And these professors have grad students everywhere, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, I have a grad student that works at Parks Canada. And for somebody who has a really terrible memory, that's me. I still remember Rick Pratt to this day. He agreed to meet me, and then he told me it was really nice to meet me, but that he had no jobs, but that his colleague, a couple of rows over, was looking for somebody, and he introduced me to her, and that's how I got my start. She hired me at Parks Canada. I worked there for 4 or 5 years. From Parks Canada, I decided that I didn't like the bureaucracy in the federal civil service, especially at the level I was young. I had a million ideas. I was like 21. I was a baby. And sorry if that's how old you are.
20, 20.
Okay, even more. So like to get your first full-time job where you're surrounded with people who are in their 40s and 50s, right? And you're sitting there going, what am I doing here? Again, what am I doing here? I found it really stifling, even though I love the mission of Parks Canada. And I would have stayed there probably my whole career, but they were just, as it was just a bit bureaucratic. So I applied for a job as a director of communications in what's called an NGO, a non-government organization, or a
Yep.
charity working in the conservation space. It was called the Canadian Wildlife Federation, and it still exists. And I went to the Parks Canada communications people, and I said, so I've just applied for a communications job. What does that mean? And he told me to go to, at the time we didn't have Google, so we'd go to the library. He said, take out a couple books on communications. And then he gave me this pamphlet on how to write a press release. And that's how I got the job as a director. Like, I didn't know anything about communications until I learned about it on my own and then went, hi, I'm here. And I got hired by the Canadian Wildlife Federation. That was the beginning of my NGO career. And I was in the NGO world over 20 years. It was almost 25 years. I worked for the Canadian Wildlife Federation for several years. When I was there, we meaning the people who, I was a support person in communications. The thinkers, they helped get us the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act. I left the Canadian Wildlife Federation to work for the Rawson Academy of Aquatic Science, which no longer exists. It was a little think tank on water-related issues, and I became the executive director there. And then I applied for the job that I decided I wanted when I was 18, the Biology Society. At 18, I decided exactly the job I wanted, which organization I wanted to run. And at 31, I got the job.
Good for you.
Um, yeah, so I had studied biology, and then when I was at the Wildlife Federation, I thought, if I'm going to be the CEO of an NGO, if I'm going to run a nonprofit charity, I need more than a biology degree. So I did an MBA back then, and that gave me the guts, credential, whatever, to say I can run something now because I understand human resources, I understand finance, I understand accounting, I understand marketing, I understand communications, all the stuff you learn in business. I can even write a business plan. So then I was the head of the Canadian Nature Federation, which became Nature Canada for 16 years, and we did a ton of stuff when I was there. We pushed for the creation of I don't know how many new national parks, like lots of them. The size of European countries, like that's how much nature we got protected by
Wow.
lobbying. We met the prime minister several times. We met ministers. We pushed for the Species at Risk Act and we got it. It was a 9-year campaign to do that. So it took us 9 years of lobbying to get the Species at Risk Act. We got the Oceans Act. We got protection of marine protected areas, national parks, all the different conservation areas. And then I went to work in the mining sector and I ran
Mm.
their sustainability program called Towards Sustainable Mining. I then went to work for a mining company. I was the VP of environment for an actual mining company up in Labrador. And then my last job was as Commissioner of the Environment and Sustainable Development for Canada. So you can say that I'm a respected whatever
Yeah. Oh,
leader.
I one of my questions, I think I do actually put that there. So
I'm like, anyway, that was my career path. So I've worked in the public sector, like in government. I've
yeah.
worked in the nonprofit sector for most of my life, back into the government a little bit, and then a little bit in the actual corporate sector and seeing how it works. Yeah, and then I semi-retired and I was like doing committee work and some consulting and some mentoring, and then I applied to be the Kinross chair. Here I am.
Well, that leads perfectly into my second question then. So you obviously talked about like the different places you worked. So can you explain to me the difference between working in the government sector compared to doing work for nonprofit sector?
So the government, I would say generally the jobs are quite prescribed. This is your job because
Yeah.
next to you is the person there with their job. And it's quite
Mm.
clear the difference between your job and their job. And in an NGO, in a nonprofit, even as the leader, the CEO of the NGO, we would spend lunch hours stuffing envelopes. For campaigns. So in an NGO, your job is soup to nuts. If I hired you, for example, and I said, I want you to get me the Species at Risk Act, you would literally have to do everything from figuring out what should be in the act to setting up the appointments to lobby for the act, to doing whatever campaigning things we do. Like for the Species at Risk Act, for example, we negotiated with Body Shop. It was
Okay.
and it's still around. And it was like back then, it was in every mall, like it was all across the country. And they did a campaign for us for the Species at Risk Act where they put a big poster in every single window of every single body
Wow.
shop with a sea otter, and it said, "There oughter be a law to protect the sea otter," right?
Really, that's very interesting. Well, I like knowing, like I like structure, right? Like I'm someone who loves the structure, so that would be more government, right? But the now, like I also like I'm at a stage in my life where I'm trying to chase purpose, right? Trying to find myself, and I kind of realize, like, you know what, I could do a lot of things that I didn't know I couldn't do, and maybe the NGO is something I'd look into just because of how crazy. And I think you used the word stimulus, like.
Yeah.
I need some stimulus, and if I have it, I can go and go and go and not
And
stop.
and what are you studying? Are you like in the geomatic side or are you in
I'm in the geography side. I will say I am kind of interested in like the Aboriginal and
Oh,
kind of like what the government is doing in regards to like the Aboriginal communities across Canada. And
yeah.
honestly, from what I've found, like they're just treating them like incredibly unfair,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Like, because even in this class, we have a big essay and I'm writing it on the water reserves.
Yes?
And the more that I read about it, it's just like the government says they're going to do one thing, but they don't do it. They don't follow through. So I honestly can't really stand for that, and I think it's terrible in my
Right.
opinion.
So just based on that, I would say you would probably love working for an NGO that's trying to push the government to do a better job, at least initially at the beginning of your career. or working for an Indigenous community to push, right? Because they do a lot of lobbying as well. So you should definitely think about the NGO sector. So yeah, I would think that at least at the beginning of your career, or maybe
Yeah.
for a summer job or something, try to look into which organizations are pushing for the kind of change that you want to see and see if you can work with.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next question now. That was amazing. Thank you for that. So I know you did talk a lot about your career and what has happened, but I kind of just want to get a little bit more specific. So how has your work changed over your career? Has environmental issues changed throughout the years? Like more
Oh, wow.
specifically, the
Yes.
issue itself.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The big shift that I've seen over my career of 40 odd years is that you, your mom, your grandma, everybody now knows, Jesus, something's happening to the weather. You know what I mean? Like things are changing. So if they can't name climate change, but frankly, they almost all can name climate change. I can tell you nobody was talking about climate change in 1980 except Al Gore and a few scientists, right? And a few
Yeah.
environmentalists going, hello. Now everybody knows. And I've said this in other classes at U of G. The other thing that's really changed from an environmental perspective is every profession now has a group of people who care about the environment. There's the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment. I knew that. They've been around a while. There's now the Canadian Association of Nurses for the Environment. Okay, nurses, accountants. There's a bunch of accountants that are trying to figure out how to, I hate to say this, but put a price on air and water to bring it into the accounts because those things are not factored in to the finances of companies and governments, they're considered free. It is free to pollute the water or the air. But if we put a price on pollution and brought it into our accounts, things that were profitable before may no longer be profitable. It's called
Oh.
internalizing the externalities if you take an economics course, and especially an environmental economics course. The fact that there is an environmental economics course to take is changed. When I first graduated out of my undergrad, there was one program in environmental studies in the whole country. One. And it was at York and it was a master's degree. There were no environmental courses at the undergrad degree. Like the whole thing has changed. And it's changed based on awareness. So I
Mm.
have a buddy whose career I've followed, and he gave his retirement speech and he was so depressed. He was like, I've been working on this for 40 years. The world is going to pot. It's gotten worse. I've done nothing.
Oh
And
no.
all I could say to him was, oh my God, Stephen, no. You know what we've done in the last 40 years is now everybody knows. There's civil engineers that care about the environment, chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, finance people, accounting, nurses, doctors, you name it. There is a slice of people that care about the environment and are trying to come up with the solutions. And we did not have that in the 80s. That is actually what gives me a lot of hope. And that's probably the biggest change that we've seen over time.
So what was the biggest challenge you faced in your career and how did you overcome it?
My biggest challenge is probably my personality and my upbringing. So I was brought up by two psychologists and I was not taught how to filter. I'm totally comfortable telling you what I am really not good at. I'm okay with it. Like, I don't like doing this like data searching and analysis of the data and coming up with the positions and all that stuff. I want really smart people to do that. That's not me. I'm not really good at it. I can, I don't really like it. And that's okay. Because what I'm really good at is talking to people and pitching things. And I'm enthusiastic. I'm energetic. People listen to me. I'm good at that. I'm not good at the first part. Like most people will never admit to anybody else what they're not good at. And I'm like, well, we can't be good at everything. So I think of it as a bell curve. We're
Mm-hmm.
really bad at a couple things, like really bad. We're really good at a couple things, like really good, where we're better than most people, right? But it's one or two things, like maybe. And the rest of it, we're kind of okay. We kind of muddle through, we're in the bell curve. We can like cook and we can fix something and we're all there. We can kind of operate. There's a couple things that we're absolutely terrible at. And there might be one or two things that you excel at. Get to know those things.
Mm.
What's really not good. And you know what? You can work as hard as you want on it. It's really always going to be bad. You know what I mean? And then those one or two good things that people tell you, that they'll say, like with me, they say you're smiling all the time. You bring great energy. I'm like, okay, I guess that's my superpower, right?
Yeah.
Yay. I don't know how I get it or where I get it, but I have it. But some people will be musician, some people will be an athlete, somebody will be photographic memory, somebody it'll be math, like it'll be all kinds of different things. And what I tend to do is celebrate that. Okay, I know what I'm good at. I'm super curious what you're good at, and I'm just going to be clapping right behind you to like cheer you on for what you're really good at. I know that most of things you're going to be okay at, and a couple things you're not going to be good at. And I am freely open with that. So the what you see is what you get. The lack
Yeah.
of filter, I would say, has probably been my biggest challenge. A lot of people can't handle it. They want to just
Mm,
see a little bit and not the whole thing,
yeah.
and they can't handle that. So I think I've lost a lot of jobs because I'm terribly honest, and a lot of people can't handle that. I was given advice by somebody who just said, before you talk, put your hands under your legs, because I tend to talk with my hands. So put them
Yeah.
under your knees and just count to 10 before you say
Mm,
something. Like, I am not very good at that. I
yeah.
tend to just say what I think right away. So that's my advice to you if you're like that. Just if you can try. It's terrible and
Yeah.
it's really hard for those of us who are not like that. We don't do that. We are tend to be who we are. I would say I personally, it was a challenge. I don't think I would have changed anything. If, like, I'm fine with that fact. And I kind of feel sad that not everybody's like that. I think the world would be better if we were all like that and just admit we can't be good at everything. And we can't, so why
Yeah.
try to fake it? Why try to hide it? I'm not good at that. That's okay. I'm
Yeah.
really good at this. And I'm so happy that you're really good at that because I'm not, you know? So I want to be with you because I want to make sure my team has all the really good things together. We're not missing something, right? But we're
Yeah.
not all going to be good at something. So let's celebrate what other people are good at and accept that we're not going to be great at everything, but we're going to be okay in the middle, the bell curve.
Yeah.
We're kind of okay. We survive.
Okay, so now I want to like you talked about like your personality. Do you think you're so instead of a challenge now, I'm going to try and flip it
Yeah.
to something that's helped you. Do you think that has helped you kind of achieve what you've achieved in the sense of these like positions that you've had? Like your personality, be like outgoing, be able to work and like bring other people's on, like that kind of just builds up over time into something much larger. Like for example, the NGOs, right? Like how you're able to
Yeah.
pass like policies and all that. Was your personality kind of
A
a
help?
big factor into that, you think?
Possibly. It was both, right?
Both?
So
Yeah.
it was both a help and a hindrance. For some people, it worked really well.
Okay.
And for
Yeah.
other people, it was too disarming, right? So it's going to be a pro and a con in
Yeah.
every situation. My last boss who hired me, he was the Auditor General of Canada. He was literally the most quietest man I've ever met in my life. We were at an airport waiting for an airplane. We were sitting in front of each other like this. He literally didn't say a word. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, this is really weird. You know what I mean? Like, no chit chat whatsoever, completely introverted. He was learning how to speak French, and he pulled out a book that was about this thick, and it was called Grammaire Française, and he was reading it like page by page.
Yeah.
Stunningly different than me. But
Mm.
I so admired him for hiring somebody so different from him. Like, I joked with his wife that I was never traveling with him again. He doesn't chit chat. He's like in his head all the time. But he had the guts to hire someone that was completely his opposite, right? So I actually, in many cases, admired the people who hired me because they had the guts to hire an extroverted, loud,
Yeah.
gregarious, a wanting action person, and not everybody can handle that. So it was more that I respected the people that hired me a lot because I knew they were getting a lot with me. You know what I mean?
I love that. I love that. Wow.
So find the person who will accept all of you, but lots of people are going to be like, okay, he's too much. He's a bit
Yeah.
too much. You know what? Then you don't even want to work for them. Like literally, and Mike, when he hired me, he just let me go. Like he was like, off you go. And I think he really appreciated my energy and his team because a lot of the people working in the office of the Auditor General, they come from an accounting background. So they tend to be a little bit more small c conservative, a little bit more introverted because they're working with numbers and not with
Yeah.
people. And so in walks this like wild flower, like that doesn't do accounting, that has never been an auditor, that's been a communications salesperson her whole life. So it kind of like shook up the whole place in a way. And he had the guts to do that. Wow. But, some of the other team members, woof, they didn't like it. It was like, stay away.
That's great to hear, honestly. That's making me feel a little bit better about my future in the sense of the personality. Because, yeah, sometimes you can be too much and a lot.
Yeah.
But, okay, this is going to be the last question because we are kind of almost running out of time here. So I'll
Okay.
just kind of get like a little like conclusion type thing in with the question. So, Julie, you served as the former commissioner in the Environmental and Sustainable Development in Canada. You have held CEO and VP leadership roles across the government and for nonprofit and charitable sectors. Based on your experience, what are the 3 pieces of advice you would give someone who's looking for a meaningful career in leadership, sustainability, and environmental governance? And if you want to add maybe Indigenous, like working with Indigenous as well, since we talked about that, you can
Yeah.
as well.
3 pieces of advice.
We did talk about a lot, so
I know.
if you want to recall stuff as well.
But I would say, first of all, go for it. Like, do it. Don't be scared off if you don't get exactly what you want right away.
Yeah.
And the advice I've already given you guys, which is meet people. You've now spoken to Guy, you've now spoken to me, and you'll be able to hear all the other podcasts from all these other people about what it was like working for TransAlta, or what it was like working your whole career for an NGO, an international NGO, or what it was like. The podcast, listen to them, because you will learn a lot by hearing what the other podcasts are all about. So for you guys, I would say pull them up and like read the little bio and just see if, man, I want to check that guy out, right? Because this is a
Yeah.
great way to meet. So I would say don't give up. Go out and meet those people. Like, you're going to get a job in a meaningful space when you say, I want to learn about you and I want to learn about your organization and I'm curious and I want to know how I can help. And if I can help, and if this is the right place for me. So don't be scared. Don't give up. I mean, I literally at 18 said, I want to be the CEO of Nature Canada. Like, think about that. That was the only job I really wanted. I was a kid when I decided it, and I was 31 when I got it. So I was watching Nature Canada as it changed CEOs, and I was like, when am I going to apply? And, and I
Yeah.
was a CEO of another NGO. When the job came up, I just threw my application in because it was like, it's here. I got to throw my application in because it doesn't come up that often. These jobs come up every 3 to 10 years, right? So like a CEO, I was there for 16 years. Nobody else could be the CEO of Nature Canada for like a decade and a half because I was there, right? So keep your eyes open, get into those organizations, meet people, be enthusiastic, don't give up. Chase your dream, I would say. Chase your dream. It took me from 18 to 31, so that's like 13 years, and I had several jobs in between. I went and got an MBA in order to be the CEO of Nature Canada. I got it. It was weird to get the job, the only job you ever wanted. I really think it's a weird thing when I think about it now. Like, that's kind of bizarre. But I went for it. I had a dream. I aimed, fired the pistol, and I hit the target. So
Yeah.
just I would say go for it. Meet people. Don't be scared to do these kinds of meetings. Keep them a bit shorter when you ask to meet other people. Ask for half an hour. You're not going to be videotaping them. Be
Yeah.
super curious. What's it like? All the questions that you asked me, engage them. And then at the very end, tell them a little bit about who you are, that you're trying to figure out where you want to be, if they hear of anything or if they know.
Yes. Thank you so much, Julie. It was great
Okay, take
talking
care.
to you.
Yeah, great
Bye-bye.
talking to you too. Bye.